Hi, you're listening to the Polka Podcast, where we talk about the privilege of knowing animals. Today I'm here in the studio with my friend Deidre Mancini. In fact, we were once roommates even. One evening, we were sitting around telling stories, and that night, Deidre told me the story of how her dog mysteriously disappeared. It was riveting, and the outcome was shocking and unbelievable. Now, here's a little background on Deidre. Deidre owned a home just outside Phoenix, Arizona. She had been long separated from her children's father, and her children were grown up now and just about to be moving out of the house. But while everyone was still together, their father came for a visit. It was during this time that her adorable dog, Peanut, went missing. Now, the circumstances surrounding Peanut's disappearance were suspicious for sure. Maybe not at the very first, but it didn't take long to figure out who was behind the dog's disappearance. Here's Deidre to continue the story.
It was 5:30 in the morning, because I always woke up at around that time. And immediately, I started looking around for her, and I couldn't find her. My house is quiet, everybody's asleep, So I'm walking throughout the house saying, Peanut, Peanut, My daughter comes out of her room and she's like, Mom, what's going on? I said, by any chance is Peanut in there sleeping with you guys? And she's like, no. And then my son emerged. He's like, what's all this commotion? I'm like, have you seen Peanut? He's like, is she in your room? He's like, not with my pit bull, she's not. Help me find her. So all of us start looking for her. We go outside, nothing. The lock was on the doggy door. And at that time, the father of my children, he was visiting. So, he made comments. He was making comments that I felt was very suspicious. And I got this feeling.
Deidre began getting a funny feeling from her ex. See, the night prior, Deidre, her daughter, and her daughter's friend decided to take advantage of a balmy night and go to the self-serve car wash. On their way out the door, Deidre remembered to call Peanut into her bedroom so that she could settle down while they were out. Surprisingly, though, the kid's dad, who was set up to sleep on the couch and was therefore sitting in the living room, told Deidre he didn't mind if Peanut stayed out and ran around while she was gone. Deidre was mildly surprised, but agreed nevertheless. They left around 9 p.m. and returned around 11 p.m. Everyone else was in bed when Deidre got back, and she was tired, so she went to bed as well. It hadn't occurred to her that evening that Peanut would be anywhere but in the house. It simply wasn't a concern.
And that's when I woke up and I couldn't find Peanut. He was saying things like, well, she's old, sometimes dogs just go and they go somewhere, they go and run off and go somewhere to die. It was just really insensitive, kind of like, he was just kind of like she's gone, deal with it, get over it kind of attitude, right?
Deidre's son, Michael, began to put the pieces together for Deidre. She was all ears. Michael, being the astute attention to detail man that he is, immediately informed his mother that his father had to have had something to do with it. He reminded his mother that the house was secure. Because Deidre had a doggy door at the back of the house, and there was a 9-foot wall solidly enclosing the entire yard, and no one would have left the front door open because it had a security system that wouldn't allow it without a code. The father had no code, along with the fact that the dog walks weren't necessary since there was a large, lush yard to roam in back. It seemed that the only way Peanut could have gotten out of the house would have been if someone purposefully put her out of the house. And the only way Peanut wouldn't have already been waiting at the door to come in was if she was taken a distance away from the house. If she was driven somewhere and dumped off. Deidre had to sit down and absorb this scenario as a real possibility. Deidre was getting more upset by the minute. Michael summed it up by saying this.
Soon as you and the girls took off to the car wash, Dad jumped up out of that lazy boy, grabbed Peanut for some reason. He has something against her, threw her in Eric's car, and drove probably somewhere like by the Home Depot and dumped her, Mom.
Oh my gosh. That is ghastly.
And I was like, Mike, I gotta hang up because you know what? I gotta process this information, right? So I walk outside into the backyard, right, where they're all still talking. And then Gabriel's not there. And the next thing I know, all of a sudden he's leaving. He's gotta go.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was so mad. I said, oh, you're leaving now that you've caused the damage?
Oh, boy. He has to go, like, just for a while, or he's not going to visit anymore?
No, he had to go and he had to take care of something. He left for his guilty conscience because he wasn't expecting me to respond that way.
Wow. Or he might have went to go try to get her back?
No, I doubt that.
You don't think?
No, yeah.
To save the... Yeah.
No. So,
Were you hysterical?
I was hysterical. I called Danielle up right away. Danielle says, I'm on my way.
Oh,
so
boy.
Danielle comes over, and Danielle, she sealed the deal. She's like, Michael's right, absolutely right. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, look, Peanut's she shedded on Eric's passenger seat of the car.
What?
So I opened up the door to Eric's car, and that's why I said about the tape. Danielle grabbed the painter's tape, the blue painter's tape, and she put it on the seat, pulled it back, and a bunch of Peanut's hair. Peanut had never, ever been in Eric's Honda Accord. Never.
Oh, wow. And wouldn't have been unless you had...
Which I never did. Never did. And so I didn't panic then. Okay? I waited until I was able to talk to Eric, and I was going to ask Eric, because she's not the only type of dog in the world. I mean, he could have had a relative that had a dog similar.
Sure,
okay?
sure.
So
But it was like, Peanut's a light-colored dog, so
right.
it was light-colored hair.
The hair was very similar, but of course, I had to be sure, and
Right.
I could do that by asking Eric. So I said, Eric, because Eric had a Chihuahua as well. I said, do you take your dog in the? He's like, well, yeah, but he's never on the passenger seat because Lisa sits there. He's in the back with the kids, and I was like, so okay.
So he only takes his dog when everybody's there.
Right, yes. And he's a very, very clean person. He vacuums his car and everything. I said, I need you to get up. I need you to check something out. So he follows me out to the driveway there. And I was like, look at the seat. And right away he goes, what the? He's like, what is that? What? And I was like, is that your dog's? He says, heck no, I wouldn't. No, This is why I wouldn't let my wife would flip if she got in this seat and then she got up and there was dog hair all over her pants. She'd kill me. He's like, no, this isn't from our dog. I said, I think I know what happened. I think that Gabriel abducted Peanut and threw her out somewhere. He's like,
and he was staying a guest in your home.
A guest in my home. So Eric says, okay, I'm going to put my shoes on. He's like, I'm going to jump in my car, you jump in yours, and we'll go drive off into that area, and maybe she'll still be there or something, hopefully. And then, so we did that. We drove around for like 2 hours. And then...
wow.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Right. And then Danielle...
How could you not wring his neck right then? You were too busy looking.
I was so upset. I couldn't even drive. Danielle had to drive. And Danielle goes, we're going to drive to the dog pound and see if she's there by any chance. So Danielle took me to a couple of the dog pound in Phoenix. She took me to the dog pound over here in Mesa.
Yeah. So let's pause here a second. So what kind of dog is Peanut?
She's a mixture of I think I want to say Chihuahua, maybe some Terrier, and...
she's kind of got wiry hair.
Yeah.
Kind of has a little mohawk on her head.
Yeah, she's got a mohawk and, kind of like the strip of bacon, the Donald Trump hair,
It's cute.
Yeah. So
and she's how many pounds does she weigh about? Maybe
well,
about 25?
We both know her weight fluctuates.
Yes.
Okay, so...
she's such an adorable dog. So getting an idea of her size and everything.
She's a medium, very...
medium-small.
Medium-small dog,
Yeah. So let's go back for a second. How is it that you came to acquire Peanut? Did you answer an ad and get Peanut as a pup? Or how did this happen? How did you become Peanut's mom?
Well, Peanut was given to me because her owner's new wife did not like her. She mistreated her. and kept her in the cage all day in her kennel when Peanut's owner was at work. So she spent a lot of time in a cage, basically. In the kennel,
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, okay. And they had her for only just a few months. Peanut came into my home, and I loved her right away. I thought she was real sweet, and she was a good dog. She made me happy.
And you had other dogs that you had adopted too.
Yeah, I had other dogs, but there was just something about her, just her little spunk. And but when I first got her, she was very withdrawn. She wasn't used to the affection, I don't think. So she was kept so often by herself, and she was pretty rowdy with the other animals and stuff like that.
She was snippy.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, with her little snaggle tooth.
Did she quickly become your favorite, and it was like well established, or
yeah, she sure did. Yeah.
Did she become sort of the alpha dog to the other dogs?
Yeah, she sure did.
Oh, that's funny.
She just was a real smart dog and just a sweetie pie. You know her.
And they listened to her?
Yeah, she just, how, you see the way Guinness reacts to her.
Yeah.
She's like...
Guinness is my dog. People.
Yeah. She does that little snarling shows her teeth and her little snaggle tooth there. And so...
But she basically took charge of your heart and those dogs.
Yeah, so she was just... she's a great dog. Everybody says that about their dog, but in my opinion, I think she's a great dog. She's not a nuisance.
She is a great dog.
She don't go and chew up, people's shoes and stuff like that.
She's got little cute quirks, which I want to get into that later.
And a very nice wardrobe, I might add.
Yes.
Yeah, a little wardrobe. She does have.
That's really cute.
She's got some good style there.
So this man had to give her up.
Yeah, he had to give her up.
And you took her and you fell in love with her right away.
Right.
And you had her... Didn't something occur then?
Yeah, right. Yeah, he decided that he was going to take her back because his marriage ended.
Wow.
And he wanted Peanut back.
So what? He came over and knocked on your door or what?
Mm-hmm. And by that time, I had her over a year. I had her longer than he had her.
Wait a minute. So... Now, had he adopted her, or did he get her when she was...
He got her when she was little. She was, she was not a full adult dog, but I had her longer than he did.
So when he knocked on your door, what was your reaction? You were probably pretty surprised.
I wasn't expecting him to visit or anything like that, or I didn't know what to expect, But, he came in, we talked a little bit, and he's like, well, yeah, I said, well, how's that wife of yours? He's like, well, things didn't really work out. She was a real, what? And I was like, really? He's like, so I was kind of hoping that with, ding dong, the wicked witch is gone. Maybe if I could, it's time for Peanut to come home.
He's like beating around the bush.
Right. He's like, well, maybe it's time for Peanut to come home. I said, oh, she's home.
Oh, no, you didn't.
I said, oh, she's home. She's fine.
She's home.
She's fine.
He didn't give her to you on a temp basis on the assumption that he was going to come back for her, did he? Or was it...
It was left open, but...
It was left open.
But I told him, too, so I said, well, I don't know. I can't make any promises.
Well, okay. You didn't want to paint a picture that may not...
Right, because when I love somebody or something, an animal... Yeah. I love them forever.
I know dogs are hard. You can't get a dog out of your heart.
I cannot give up an animal. I've seen people. I've heard of people going, and because their new husband or wife or whatever has an allergy to their dog, they got to give up their dog.
What the? Yeah.
You know what?
Or they're moving to a new apartment, and we can't.
Investigate if you can have animals, first of all.
You need to know a little bit of what's happening in your life a little bit ahead.
And if your girlfriend is allergic to your animal's hair, you got to get rid of her. Either that or she better get used to taking whatever allergy medicine. But I'm not giving up my animal. I love them.
I'm a firm believer in that. And as a matter of fact, my dogs have all been for life. I could never give a dog that I've raised and it's been in my life. I could never... let that dog go. It's like a child to me.
Right.
I don't have children, but it's like a child to me.
Yeah. That's how I figured,
So you said no.
I said no. We had been through so much at that time, so I was like, I'm not going to give her up,
Wow.
She's my little road dog.
Now, did he come along after she mysteriously went missing?
Yeah.
But you got okay,
I
yeah.
got her back.
Okay, so let's go back to the story then. Okay, so you had checked all of the animal shelters.
Yes.
That's where we are.
Right. Though, and
She wasn't there.
Right. And this is over a series of couple of days, and I had put up flyers in the neighborhood.
So it's a couple days into it, you
Flyers.
go out.
I
Let's
sure
take it
did.
day by day here.
Right. I made up some flyers. I posted them up, in the neighborhood and whatnot, at like the local stores and whatnot. And then one day I noticed that the children were coming out of school. And I just kind of like used my voice, and I was like, "Hey kids, come here. And then sure enough, they started, flooding over to me. The kids, they knew me, not personally, but they knew that I was a nice lady. So anyway, I saw there has been a pretty decent sized mob that had formed, And I said, "Gang, I need your help. My dog is missing. I don't know what happened to her. I don't know. She's gone, and she's out there alone, and it's dangerous. And I just wanted to let you guys know. Look at her picture right here. Look at her little face. Her name's Peanut. If you see her, you need to let me know right away, because I'll go to wherever she's at, and I'll go and recover her. Don't try and get her yourself. Just, my number's on here. Call me,
Right.
And I'm offering a reward, for her safe return, or if you can point me in the right direction, I was like, so you guys go ahead and bust out with your little Apple phones and your Google Watches and your iPads and take a picture of this poster and remember it.
And what happened?
And sure enough, they start opening up backpacks. I hear zippers going, and
the little kids.
Yeah, the little kids.
They all have their phones.
They're so cute.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, the little kids like this. This one little boy, he moved his wrist like this to take a picture with his little Google Watch. He's like, that's so cute.
Oh my gosh, what a different world.
Yeah.
So they all got their pictures, and they're like, did they ask you questions about her?
They just wanted to know, like, is a boy a girl? Did she buy? And I was like, well, I don't know how she'll react, out there by herself. Just, this is what she looks like, And a lot of the kids would walk and see me out there, and Peanut would be out there with me. So many of the kids know what she looked like. And so...
Because you were always working out front in your garden.
Right, in my garden, right. The next couple of days, I was just still driving around the neighborhood looking and waiting for the phone to ring, basically,
Did any of the kids ever,
Yes, every single day, this one little boy would come to my house. Either I was usually in the garden working. When I wasn't, he would come up and he'd ring my doorbell. And he would always ask me the same thing, is she here?
Oh, with a concerned look.
Very concerned. Is she here? Did you get her back? Did you find her? I said, no, not yet.
How old was he about?
He was probably maybe 7 or 8.
Oh, okay.
He was a little kid. He every time he came to the door, his father would stay at the sidewalk,
Okay.
with his hands in his pocket, and the little boy would come up to the door.
He was all concerned, and
yeah.
he said...
And I said, no, she's not. I haven't heard anything yet. And he goes, well, I haven't stopped looking. I'm still looking.
How cute.
I want to find her. What a sweet little boy. What an angel, Not all kids are brats.
What an angel, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I couldn't sleep. I slept very few hours during this time. Some people might hear me and probably think, oh, this lady's ridiculous. But I really couldn't. Every time I heard a dog bark, like a little dog bark, I would run out to see if it was her, So the one night, I had finally fallen asleep, and I hear banging on my bedroom door, loud. I initially I thought it was the police.
Oh no!
That's really I
that
thought,
loud.
That loud. So I get up, and I open the door, and it's my daughter, and she's holding something wet wrapped in a towel in her arms. It was Peanut. She's like, Mom, it's Peanut. She came home. And I was like, what? Where did you find her? And my daughter was pregnant at that time. She was like due any day. She says, well, I couldn't sleep, So I was up, I was pacing back and forth and whatnot. She says, and I kept hearing this like scratching noise but like on the window, she says, and I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was like the rain, because at that time, it had barely started to rain. And that night, it rained 4 inches in a half an hour.
Wow.
It started pouring. It came down hard.
Is it like monsoons or something?
Right, and it rained for a period of like 3 or 4 days straight after that, okay?
Yeah.
So,
heavy duty stuff.
right. Peanut came home just in time.
So she was home.
My daughter says, yeah, so I heard the scratching noise, and she thought that initially, she thought it was Rob, my friend Rob. Because sometimes he does that, to be silly. He'll do scratches like on the door, or instead of knocking, he's just ridiculous like
right.
that. So my daughter says, oh, she said, she was thinking to herself, if it's Rob, I'm going to slap him, so she opens up the drapes there, and she sees a little dog all wet. And she opens up the door, and she's like, Peanut. And Peanut came running to her.
Oh.
And yeah, she grabs it.
And she looked like hell, huh?
Yeah, she looked exhausted. I brought, obviously we were reunited. I was so happy. I was crying. My daughter was crying.
I bet she was hungry.
She was hungry, and she was shaking. She was like traumatized.
Oh.
Yeah, and she was just like, she didn't want to leave my side.
Oh, poor thing.
Yeah, she would try and like dig her way into like the shirt that I was wearing or whatever.
Oh,
she would try and
bless
go
her
in
heart.
there. Yeah, so I just held her close with me, and
that makes me want to cry. That's so. I mean, God.
Yeah.
So your son was right. He probably dumped her somewhere at a distance that was enough to where she wasn't sure where she was.
Right.
But dogs have some kind of innate sense. Animals, I guess, all do. And she... Okay, so...
Well, my son...
Peanut
found her
finally
My
made her
son-
way back home after 7
he would
long
always take his
days.
pit bull with him in the car.
This amazing dog had to cross several wide intersections and a freeway in order to get home. It seems unreal. It has been done many times before. I mean, there are numerous stories throughout history of animals, both pets and wild animals, traveling back to a place they came from and finding their way home on their own. It's extraordinary. If you think about it, this little dog had to get her bearings and realize, first off, where she was when she was dumped off. It must have been a little frightening for her. I mean, then what she would have had to do is begin walking in the direction she thought would take her home. And she probably had to sniff a lot of air, look for other clues too, like landmarks, and maybe use some other scents we don't even know about. She would have had to avoid people trying to come up to her and pet her and maybe grab her. She would have had to avoid being hit by a car or bicycle. She would have had to have been in search of food and water all along her journey, it would seem. She would have had to make numerous judgments about which direction to go, when she should cross the street or intersection, and how to best cross the street. She would have had to have kept going, day in and day out, with probably very little sleep. I mean, she's an indoor dog, She isn't accustomed to sleeping outside in the elements or in strange, possibly dangerous and unfamiliar places. By the time Peanut arrived home, 7 days had gone by. I mean, it is thought that she was dropped off about 2 miles away, but no one is sure. It could have been further than that. Her constant vigilance about direction, finding food and water, staying out of harm's way and away from people trying to grab her, must have been utterly exhausting. But who knows, maybe what we think happened didn't happen that way. Maybe someone from the neighborhood who also frequents the Home Depot 2 miles away found her and brought her home. Maybe several days went by and Peanut naively sat there waiting for Deidre to pick her up. Maybe the people were good to her, but it wasn't her home. Or maybe they weren't good to her. Either way, maybe she found a way out of the clutches of those people, and from there realized she was near home and made a beeline for the house. We'll probably never know what happened, and I guess Peanut's not talking as of now. But when my friend first told me this story, I just have to say, I was so engrossed in it that I just had to share it as a podcast. Dogs are such amazing and resilient creatures. Peanut is just another great example of how that's true. I'd like to invite you back here to listen to another episode, if you like this one. Maybe an episode about rats, or about bugs, or birds even. The bottom line is, I have compiled some of the best stories from my close friends, acquaintances, and the experiences of my own life. And if you enjoy any of what you hear, please, by all means, add this podcast to your subscriptions and podcast episode notifications so you can hear more incredible little stories that perfectly embody the privilege of knowing animals. And until next time, thanks for listening to the Polka Podcast.